Hey everyone, we are going to give it an extra minute or so before we get started uh, because people are still coming in. Thanks everyone for joining us. Right. So we'll go over how to submit questions, how the meeting is going to be run. We'll do a short introduction. We'll also have a presentation by Ryan Chapman, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. So thanks everyone for coming. So welcome to the City of Davis meeting. It's regarding the design and the technical aspects of construction on G Street. We are happy that you can join us this Tuesday evening. We know that everyone is very busy and that this meeting is either taking you away from your business, your family, your needs, or your work. So really thank you for joining us today. Any questions regarding the business use, the furniture, or use of space should be reserved for the September meeting. We will be focused on the design and the platform for tonight's meeting. For folks here that represent a business on G Street where the work is happening, you are not late or behind for the use agreements or for the use of space. The city still has a lot of internal work that we're going to do before the agreements can start. And so you haven't missed out on anything regarding the use of space yet. So you're still on time, you're still great. If you have a question, feel free to put them in the Q&A section. There should be a Q&A button on your screen. If a question is entered about business use and furniture, then we are going to save your question for the next meeting that's happening in September. All the questions that are related to the technical, the design, the construction, we'll answer tonight. So I am going to, in addition to the Q&A, you can also comment on each other's Q&A. So you can comment on each other's questions if you want to, but the chat function has been disabled, and so has, I think, the audio function. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly just to go over a couple of things before I hand it off to Ryan. Right. Let me put this over. Okay, so first I'm going to go over some ground rules just to help us stay on topic and help us respect everyone's expectations, time, and input so we have a successful meeting, and then afterwards I'll do introductions. So first, please be as present as you can. We know you may be multitasking or something may come up, you may be driving. We appreciate everyone being active listeners, us included. So as much as possible, minimize distractions. Let's all respect each other's time and really try to keep our questions brief and to the point, and try not to repeat questions, and if possible, not bring up something that is not relevant or maybe no longer relevant. Let's look through the windshield and not the rear view. That's my car analogy and why you see those graphics on the screen. We are here to answer and resolve rather than like do any shame or blame, right? Honest and constructive discussions will help us get better results. If we don't get to everyone, please email us. Your questions or contact information will be in the chat and also, or in the Q&A as a slide at the very end. Attendees, like I said, are going to be muted, but you can submit your questions through the Q&A function. Also, this meeting is being recorded so that you can rewatch later or share the link with friends. The video will be put on the G Street Activation webpage on the City of Davis website, hopefully by tomorrow or the end of this week, but it will be up, so you can share that. I'll also send an email out to let you guys know about that. Next slide. Again, this meeting is to provide an overview of the construction work being done and answer any technical questions that you may have. Ryan Chapman will do a presentation about the construction project, and then the rest of the time will be for Q&A. I wanted to note that this project has two parts. The first part is the CIP project, or the construction of the platforms. The second part is the business use and the activation of the space. So both parts have different staff leads, and this will now lead me to introductions. Leading the CIP construction part of the G Street project is Ryan Chapman. Wave, Ryan. He is the Assistant Director of Public Works Engineering and Transportation. He's going to be presenting today. Leading the business use and the activation of the space part is Katie Yancey. She's the Director of Economic Development. She's waving. Questions regarding the use of space will be pushed to the next meeting with the city in September. Katie is here as support. Since this meeting is about the design of the platforms and the constructions of them. Again, questions about the business use will be moved on to September. If you know you're interested, if you're a business on G Street and there's going to be a platform or space in front of your business, let Katie know that you're interested in either hosting. Oh no, you guys can only see me. Okay, let me see. Do this. I will move folks over to co-host in a little bit after I'm done. Please take our poll to pick a day and time to host the September meeting. That one is we're still working on day and time. We want to work around your schedule. We want to make sure that you're there to attend it. So the poll link will be put into the Q&A. It's also on the QR code that you see on the screen. So my name is Jenny. I'm the Director of Community Engagement with the City of Davis. For G Street, Barbara and I are going to be the contacts for outreach. Some of you may already know Barbara. She did some outreach out there. We also have Diana Jensen, who's the Director of Public Works Engineering and Transportation. She's here as well. I'm going to move them over to be co-hosts so you guys can see them. And then Barbara is here, Diana's here, and then we also have Jennifer D'Onofrio, who's a senior transportation planner for the city and has been a part of the project from the beginning. She's also here, and she'll also be helping with Q&A at the end. And then I'll put our contacts into the Q&A so you guys can see that. If you have a question during Ryan's presentation, please put it into the Q&A. If your question is answered through Ryan's presentation, that's great. If not, then Jennifer will repeat the questions once the Q&A opens. Again, questions about business use and furniture, we will save for the next meeting in September. Ryan will give his presentation and then we will do questions at the end. Again, this meeting is being recorded. And then the city does have a webpage about G Street. You can find it on the cityofdavis.org webpage. So just really quickly about the timeline, in July, the City Council approved a resolution that allowed us to purchase tables, chairs, lights, benches, and umbrellas and things for the space. I want to note that these items are only to start the space so that there's something there. There will be opportunity and time for businesses to buy and include their own outdoor items in this space. The City Council also authorized the construction bid to go out. The construction went out, the bid for the construction went out on July 22nd and it closed today. Additionally, businesses with outdoor furniture on G Street have been asked to remove items before the start of construction, which is hopefully starting in late August. In August, a contractor will be selected, and then at the end of August, construction should start. We are hoping that the construction will be done sometime in late fall or early winter, maybe mid-November. We're really hoping, barring any delays or any sort of issues to the construction. During construction, there may be noise and dust and debris. The contractors will work as quickly and efficiently as possible to minimize the work and impacts to businesses as much as possible. The city will be posting A-frames and or banners along 2nd and 3rd Streets so that visitors to downtown Davis, to G Street, are informed that the businesses are still open in the construction zone and where they can find more information and a contact. The city will also use social media and other marketing tools to inform the community. The sidewalks on both sides of G Street from 2nd to 3rd, where the construction is happening, will be open and accessible for pedestrians and visitors to G Street. In September, there will be a meeting regarding business use. I've been talking about that. Businesses will be able to work with or connect with Katie regarding the spaces. This part is still being worked on and no final decision has been made, so you're not behind or too late. The city has not completed our internal part yet, and so there's still time to share your interest and to have that with Katie later. In late fall, early winter, hopefully the construction of the platforms will be completed, barring any delays or issues. The few outdoor items that the city ordered will be installed. Again, more or additional furniture can be bought or installed by businesses once they have an agreement with the city or on the use, and then we'll have some design guidelines as well. More information on that will come from Katie. And then also in the winter, the city's hoping to host some sort of event or some sort of thing to sort of celebrate a new Saji Street space. So more information is coming on that as well, but that's definitely a part of on our brain. So I'm going to stop sharing and I am going to quickly move Ryan to a host. I'm going to add a few other folks as well. Let's see. Okay. Can everybody see Ryan at the very least now? Okay, all right, I will hand it off to Ryan.
Awesome. Can we, see my presentation? Awesome. So again, I'm Ryan Chapman. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works, and I'm here to talk about the design of the G Street project. We've gone through a lot of this already, but the meeting is really to present kind of what we're building, answer any questions you guys have about the construction window and what we've designed. And then there will be some future meetings to discuss the use of the space. And this is just kind of a schematic of what we're building right now. And it's going to be an elevated platform that ties into the sidewalk. It will have a slight step on one side and access to and from the middle of the street, which will still serve kind of as an emergency vehicle access, but still a place that people can congregate. This layout is really kind of the bulk of what we're building. It shows where we're putting in these tiled platform areas on both sides of the street. It shows where we've put in some limited benching and fencing, essentially to keep people from falling off, where we're going to have some steeper drop-offs. There will be a bit of a lip here, 4 inches, that people can step on and off of to get onto the platform. On this side here, wood stocks, there will be some fencing against the existing sidewalk. This has to, in order to make this work, this has to be a little bit higher than the existing grade of the sidewalk. And there will be a couple platform or ramps put in to allow people to actually get up onto the platform. And then a couple additional ADA ramps here and another smaller platform here. We do show some locations where we're putting some additional furniture, and I'll get into what that looks like in a minute. This is just a cross section to show we're not blocking the existing drainage on the street, so the water will be able to flow underneath it, the platform. And a lot of this is really just because of the money available and what we were able to design. So we needed to accommodate existing drainage, didn't have the ability to reconstruct the entire road, and wanted to make this work as best as we could with those constraints. There is a bit of a lift here in order to make this work. If we had tried to make this platform flush with the sidewalk, this would only go out 4 or 5 feet before it would have essentially ended because it met the ground. And in order to give 2 platforms that were pretty close to equivalent width, we had to elevate this side. And this is the side where Woodstocks is on. And this is the side that has Temple Coffee. This is just showing the tiles that we've selected. And these are 2 foot by 2 foot ceramic tiles that sit on pedestals. So they are elevated a little bit from the street. They're not just going to be completely open underneath. We will have it screened off so that debris and small cats or whatever could not get underneath the tile system, so that it does remain free and clear and doesn't block or get clogged up. I wanted to highlight some of the other amenities that are going in. We are putting in these block systems with some fencing, normally at the north and south ends of each one of these platforms to keep people from falling off, help address some ADA slip and trip kind of issues. And you'll see this type of cable fencing also along a portion of the platform next to the sidewalk on the east side. And then we will be installing some cantilary type of lighting at the edge of the platform next to the EV access. On the ends, there will be some more stout poles with a bit of a foundation to allow us to install street pole banners as we want to. And then we will just be using some telespar poles. The type of poles that we normally put street name signs on at periodic intervals to actually hang those lights and keep them high. Onto the furniture, we are looking at a couple different options. The first ones are these blocks. Really, one of the things that we heard from the community and council is they wanted some engagement with the area, something that was kind of fun for people to interact with. And these blocks in a variety of different patterns are something that we are hoping to at least initially help create that. And there are 4 different shapes that we're showing here. These have been designed so that people can engage with them, sit on them, eat a meal, but it's gonna be very difficult to move them around once they're assembled and clicked together. We're also gonna be installing some furniture. Again, the design is such that when we need to move it to accommodate something else, or as things change on the street, that is something that we will be able to do. But it's not gonna be easy to just have them picked up and carried off. We're also putting up against the edge some of these bench type systems where you can sit, eat a meal, interact with some friends, possibly and do some homework. And these would be up against the edge of the platforms, normally on the north and south sides. I think the big thing right now is the construction schedule. We're currently out to bid. It was supposed to open today, but we had to extend it by a couple of days. So we will be receiving bids this Friday, August 9th. And we will have the contractor ready to start work later this month. We expect construction to be substantially complete by mid-November, where we're hopefully mostly off the road. This place is open and able to be used. We might still be moving some furniture in or a couple other things that will require a day of work here or there, but really the intent is to have the bulk of the work done and get the street reopened to this use as soon as possible. And during construction, all the sidewalks are going to remain open. Business entrances will be accessible to the public, so we shouldn't be disturbing things too much. And really, I wanted to open this up to some questions. I am sure there are quite a few of them. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat box and Jennifer will be able to read them out loud. And if you want to talk to me about anything, my email address is right there.
Great. Ryan, our first question is, will businesses be allowed to move furniture to the sidewalks this month since it must be moved by August 23rd?
No, unfortunately, during construction, we need to be able to keep the sidewalks open to allow people to get in and out of the work site.
And as a follow-up, what do you recommend businesses do with their furniture after the project is done?
I think initially we're not going to be able to bring that furniture back out onto the street, and we're going to have to look at other options. I'm not sure I've got any advice on what you should do with your furniture.
Can I sell alcohol or outdoor use during construction?
No, we're not going to be able to have people, there isn't going to be a place for people to be outside drinking during construction.
And can I use the sidewalk for tables in my business during construction or after construction?
Definitely not during construction. Again, we need to be able to keep those sidewalks open so that people can access the businesses. And even after construction, it's going to be, if that option exists, it's going to be very limited. We will have to keep things open just to share access to all the businesses. And we will have to make sure that everything is ADA accessible and people can move on and off of the platform.
Are there any other questions that folks want to put into the Q&A?
I think there are a few already, Jennifer.
Oh, sorry. Are the blocks and tables ADA compliant?
Yes, everything we're installing is ADA compliant.
Is the city going to address any of the business owner questions or comments resulting from the 7/22 meeting with Barbara Archer and Jenny Tan? There were about 30 questions.
I think I've answered a lot of the questions there that were related to the design. Some of the questions related to like the future use of the platform will be answered at the meeting next month.
Will the area be cleaned and maintained by the city or businesses along the platform?
Yes, at least initially, the city's committed to maintaining the area and keeping it clean.
What's the plan for plants and flowers? Lighting plan.
The plan for plants and flowers, some of the blocks that I was showing have the option to remove this top portion to allow them to become planters. It's not something we're building as this phase of the project, but as things evolve, there could be an option to really expand that. I think one of the things we're looking for as far as that goes is how they would be maintained and who would be taking care of them in the long run.
A follow-up on that question, Ryan, is what is the big block with the fencing coming out with you that you're showing right now? The planter, topped planter.
So they could potentially be planters. Right now, they're just kind of blocks. They'll help screen the ends of the street. So on this plan, they're shown here and here. They're also, and then down here as well. They're also really designed to help prevent people from tripping on that edge, since that edge is a little bit deeper than higher than the rest of it. And it was a way for us to really anchor in the fencing that we're showing on this without having to start drilling into the street. The blocks kind of mount directly onto the platform, and then the fence mounts onto those blocks.
Got it. The next question is not really, it's asking why they can't see the participation, everyone participating.
That's probably my fault when I set up the meeting. I'm sorry, guys, but I can tell you there's 20 of you guys. There's 20 people that are attendees in the room right now. Ryan, I did email you, or I forwarded to you the email that Petrea is talking about. I think it's the second attachment. If you wanted to see what you could answer from that list.
Oh, Ryan, yeah. And then can the city make changes to the current design such as table size and amount of lighting, etc.?
Not as part of this construction effort. There will be opportunities in the future to make those changes. When we designed or started placing furniture on this, a lot of this was with an intent that some of this would have to move as we started seeing how people were using the space and what they were able to, or what they wanted to do with it.
And then how did the city determine the color of the seating?
During the design charrette, we heard that the community was looking for some vibrant colors. We kind of worked internally with our consulting team to figure out what the color palette would work with and kind of not would match together and not clash. And again, with the kind of direction that we wanted to see things that were a little bit more interactive or fun for people to engage with, we kind of picked that color palette.
Does the city have a plan to secure more funding for additional seating and other amenities?
We don't have another funding source lined up, and that's something that we would have to work through in the future. It wouldn't be infeasible for us to look at additional grant funding to make changes or expand the area or something like that if that was something that the community desired.
How do you see groups being able to use this space?
I think they're going to use it a lot like they do right now. We've got a lot of people that show up just to hang out. They meet with friends. They might gather here before or after hanging out at another restaurant in town, or just as a place to be. when I've been out on G Street, I've seen a lot of people just hanging out to do homework or working on their computers, drinking coffee, and just those types of uses.
Are you open to recommended changes from the businesses who serve the public on this block?
Yeah, we're open to any kind of feedback we can receive about this. And while I can't promise that we're going to be able to make large changes on this particular construction, I really do see this as the first phase of the project where we're putting in the platform and kind of setting it up for future use.
Maybe Ryan, the construction design is done, or how firm is that?
The construction design is done. I'm going to have a contractor, hopefully Friday afternoon, who is on board to build this.
So there's still room for people to provide input about the use, the look. I mean, I think we're also looking at other items to be added, art. You know, we want vibrant, a variety of colors. And like we mentioned, the things that we ordered are only to start and have something in the space so that people can start to use it. And then as businesses connect with Katie and agreements about the use are made, then businesses will be able to include or add their furniture or other things, tables, as long as it meets with design guidelines, obviously for public safety reasons, to ensure that the space has cohesion and it's attractive, and so forth.
All right. The next one is, does the city need to encumber the American Rescue Plan funds by November and spend by 2026? And then the second part is, can the city delay the construction?
Yes, the American Rescue plans funds need to be encumbered by the end of this year.
I'll say that we're moving because we did get direction from city council multiple times to make this happen. It has already been a long multi-year process to get to this point. So the funds have been encumbered. And as I said, the platforms are the only thing that are being constructed in this construction zone, the platforms, and then more can be coming later once we have that meeting with Katie later, and then we figure out other things internally about the space.
The next question is, during bar hours at night, will alcohol be allowed on the platforms and how will it be regulated?
I think that's something that we're still working through. I mean, immediately when we reopen this, no alcohol would be allowed on the platform. But that's something that I think was going to be discussed at the meeting next month.
Great. Will there be new signage on G Street for businesses who are not on the street?
We can work with you on signage to figure out what you need and how we want to go about that. And if you want to talk to me about signage, please reach out and email me and we can figure out a plan.
Okay, the next one is the meeting regarding business use and use of space already scheduled for a specific date and time in September?
No, that September meeting has not been scheduled yet. There is a doodle poll. I can have someone put it in the Q&A so you can find the doodle poll. It's also, I can share it, or Ryan can share it if you want to email him. So we're looking at a couple of different dates in September. We want as many people to take it as possible, but that date has not been selected yet. We're still looking for input.
The next question is, how do you see businesses along G Street utilizing the area for their customers?
I think a lot of it's going to be the way it's used right now, where people can sit outside and eat, they can gather and they can meet. I think the only big change immediately is the sale of alcohol on the street. And like I said, that's something that we are working through and we'll be discussing at length at the next meeting.
How many trash recycle containers are planned with a commitment from the city to empty in a timely manner?
This, I think the number of trash and recycle containers is going to remain largely like it is initially, and we'll be adding more as we need to. And the commitment is that the city will be out there at least daily working, cleaning up the area, making sure it's tidy and emptying trash containers.
The next question is that this person has serious questions about the design of the platform. It will create tripping hazards, among other issues. Why aren't you open to feedback from other architects who have used this material for street platforms?
Um, I understand the concern, but we have put up barriers and fencing to address the tripping hazards. And the area where we do have it set up is built in conformance with the manufacturer's recommendations and guidelines. And with a mind to keep this as open and accessible as possible.
What is the maintenance plan for the furniture on G Street? Daily cleaning?
Yes, daily cleaning. We're gonna be out there at least once a day. We're gonna be cleaning it. We're gonna make sure that there's no litter or trash on the platform. We'll be wiping down the furniture as needed.
Any other questions?
I think another one came in.
Oh, is it possible to put up 2 strings of lights?
I don't think so, not at this phase. I mean, this is consistent with the downtown lighting recommendations that were taken to city council a few months ago. If the request is to put the lighting across the open emergency vehicle easement, I'm not able to get the lights high enough that I can have a fire truck pass underneath them.
And then just a note that some businesses expressed concerns at the 7/22 meeting about the lack of night lighting.
I'll take a look at the existing lighting. We'll see if there's anything that can be modified or changed. There might be the need to do some tree trimming to open up some of that. And like I said, I'll take a look at that and see what we can do.
All right. We've questioned why wouldn't alcohol be allowed on the platforms when many of the restaurants and brewery use the space for that already? Should we that question will come up in the use presentation?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that we're still figuring out for the use of the space. I don't think I don't think the answer is no. I think the answer is we're still looking into that. In terms of how that space is designated or what's it's called and how the city will maintain that space. So we'll save that question for the next meeting in September.
Great. Can we assume correctly that we must take down all of our existing outdoor lighting?
yes. Before we can move forward with construction, everything that's on the street right now would need to be removed. That includes the lighting, any platform or furniture you might have out there.
I had a few people take the doodle poll, so thank you, whoever took the doodle poll for September, I appreciate it. Any other questions?
Oh. Will additional streets be blocked off during construction?
No, we're hoping to keep everything open during construction as much as possible. I'm not looking to close anything on Third or Second.
Maybe Ryan, so when the equipment comes and they're getting ready to do that street, it'll be on that street where the construction's happening, right? They won't like place equipment in other parking spots that are not, on G Street between Second and Third.
Correct. No, everything should be able to be staged on street. They shouldn't have to, except for the occasional piece of equipment or delivery coming in. Everything should just be within the area that's currently within the bollards.
We have another question. What is the plan to increase the amount of outdoor seating since post-pandemic, many people prefer to eat outside?
That's something that we're gonna have to talk about next month.
Now that we have Katie on board as our economic development director, that's something that she can work on for the entirety of downtown and not just G Street.
The next question is, for future phases, will the city release the full design for a public comment period?
For future phases, we'll definitely be meeting with you and discussing what's going on. I'm not sure what that engagement or outreach is gonna look like. I'm not sure we're gonna be able to release a full set of plans before we bid them without causing some issues during the bid process. But we would definitely be meeting with you often and frequently to discuss what we're doing, discuss what our options are, and make sure that you are heard.
Is there anything else, Ryan, that's going to be constructed on G Street? I mean, I think it's just the lights and furniture and
The lights, the furniture, we'll be removing the yellow line down the middle of the street. We are gonna be adding a couple more bollards to make
the ends.
very sure, yes, to make very sure that we don't have vehicles getting into there when we don't want them there.
And I do want to say, I hope that you guys have seen more engagement from the city in the last, month or 2 months or so, and that we really are trying to work with businesses, not just only on G Street, but in downtown Davis, a lot more collaboratively, take in your feedback. There was some talk about a survey. That's also something that we're, considering and thinking about. There's been a lot of stuff that we've been working on, but your feedback is really important, and even this meeting is the result of some of the feedback that we got, because we heard that there were a lot of questions about the technical aspects. There was confusion about the use of the space and what was going on and what the city council had actually approved. So we're really hoping to turn a leaf in that sense, to really ensure that you guys have all your questions answered and that you are interacting with us as much as you want to. So our contact information, I think a lot of businesses already have it, but Katie, Ryan, Jenny, myself, I said my own name, Jennifer and Diana, we're all here to support, and you can reach out to any of us if you have any questions.
Great, we have a few more questions in the queue. Will this project conflict with the 240G project?
No, it will not. The 240 in any way, 240G is primarily taking access off of H Street. They're also quite a ways away from starting construction on that. We're still working through kind of preparing the final plans and working through some of their issues that they've got to build it.
I'm going to say this next question, but it's something that we're probably going to need to save till the next meeting, but it's, how would you like us to address the negative feedback that we receive from customers when they can no longer eat or drink outside?
I think that's going to be part of the discussion next month.
Yeah. The next one is, I often see cars that park perpendicular to G Street and block what will be the emergency vehicle lane. Do we have a plan to help mitigate this?
We do include painting some red fire lane markings in those locations on the street as part of this plan. That will help mitigate that. At least it'll properly be marked and give police and fire some additional tools to discourage that behavior.
And there is always, I mean, if you do see that happening, to call the non-emergency dispatch line that the police department has, to at least get a record that there are that many cars or it's happening that many times, because then if there is a trend that we're getting 15 calls a day that someone is parked in that space, and that can be something that the police department investigates, and it's out there a little bit more. So if you see something that shouldn't be there, definitely report it, so that we can say, you know, there's a record. It's not just, you know, the one-off person. And we're not we are not everywhere all at once in Davis. So the feedback and support that you guys can provide or share with us is really helpful, especially when they're doing something illegally.
And then the following question, it's more of a comment. It's just saying that they would prefer more or would like to have more engagement, especially along G Street. I mean, sorry, the E Street Plaza. Oh, here's another one. Will the city collect feedback from businesses after construction is complete about the use of the space and opportunities for improvement?
Absolutely. And you're more than welcome to share your feedback now with Katie. As I mentioned, Katie is responsible for the business, the use side of things and the activation of the space. So if you have feedback, you're welcome to share it with her. I did share with Katie the notes and the documents from the July meeting that Barbara and I attended with some of the businesses on G Street. So, you know, she's aware of those things. As I mentioned, if you're interested in having some use of that space in front of your business, especially, definitely let Katie know so she can track all that. And when we're ready to have that discussion and we have all our paperwork in order, then we can get going on that pretty quickly.
Great. And then the next question is about just publishing this transcript tonight from the meeting. And you're going to be posting the video.
I'll post a video. I'll try to get the transcript and I'll try to put them together, or at least like the links together. It'll be on the City of Davis G Street activation webpage.
Great. Anything else?
I think there was one more comment.
Will there be a curfew of outdoor noise and space usage during the week?
I think that's gonna have to be part of the discussion at next month's meeting. Construction hours are normally gonna be during the day. And they would need special permission to work beyond those hours. And the city would be very hesitant to hand that out without a good reason.
I think the only times we've done that is when we have a heat wave. And so we try to not have our workers out in the during the hottest part of the day. And so they might start a little bit earlier in the morning. I think like 6 a.m. is the earliest. Because we do have, you know, our own ordinance on noise that we try to follow. But that's like the only time I think we've ever had to do that.
All right, final thoughts?
Any other questions you guys may want to put in the chat?
And again, if they come up with something after the meeting, please feel free to reach out to me. If I don't have the answer, I'll try to find it for you.
Going once, going twice. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining this meeting. I hope you guys found it helpful. Our contact information is that last comment in the Q&A section. We'll have more to come. And then if you haven't already, take a doodle poll for that business use activation meeting that we'll have sometime in September with Katie. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for your time.